This is the PetroServe USA Bison Pregame Show.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to a wet parking lot here next to the Fargo Dome. You know, they say neither rain nor snow nor sleet nor dark of night can stop a Bison homecoming festival from taking place, and yeah, that's what's going on. So what if it's raining? I'm Mike Morgan, and welcome to the PetroServe USA Pregame Show, and we're going to talk a little bit more with some of the people who are braving the elements today in preparation for today's big game against the Bears. But for now, let's go into the dry, warm comforts of the Fargo Dome and your host, Jamal Spencer.
Thanks a lot, Mike. 72 degrees and always comfortable here in the Fargo Dome, unless you happen to be a member of the opposing team. Then things get a little bit rough, as perhaps the Bears might find out today. Welcome to the PetroServe USA Bison Football Pregame Show. I'm your host, Jamal Spencer. Thanks for joining us in the Valley on KVLY and across the great state of North Dakota on the NBC North Dakota Sports Network. Well, last week, the Bison had a comeback for the ages, one of the best regular season games the Fargo Dome's ever seen, twice rallying from 13 points down to beat the Northern Iowa Panthers 24-23. They'll have to quickly move past that game, as today a 1-5 Missouri State team comes to the Fargo Dome, and they're much, much better than that record indicates, folks, as evidence of the fact that they've given the Bison many problems over the years. Just happens to be just one of those teams that's always given NDSU a tough time. We'll get into the X's and O's in just a little bit, but for now, let's go up top to the team who will be bringing you all the action today. Play-by-play man Brian Shawn, analyst Kevin Feeney, and color commentator Lee Timmerman. And guys, you got to believe the Bison are not overlooking the Bears today.
Yeah, thank you, Jamal. And I really think that has to be the case for NDSU as they take on a Missouri State team that, as Jamal mentioned, is much better, I think, than their 1-5 record. But when you're coming off a win like last week, beating Northern Iowa, emotional game, NDSU was in that position last year against Youngstown State, came back the next week against Indiana State, looked flat, lost the football game. Same position this week against Missouri State a year later. What's the difference?
What do you think, Kevin?
You know what? You're going to hear that message sent from those coaches. Obviously, Missouri State's played very well against the Bison in the past. They certainly have their players ready to go. Talking to even former players, they were saying, hey, this is a team that's always given us issues. So I think the focus will be there, and I think the big focus has to be just on the Bison. I think that's the biggest thing that those coaches got to get across to themselves is they feel like there are areas that they can certainly improve on, and this is the time of the season when you're getting into that sixth game of the season that you need to start seeing those things improve right now if you want to be a championship team at the end.
Well, Missouri State, I think, is a real interesting team. Coach Bohl, right off the top, I guess, in the press conference on Monday, said we're trying to find out how this team is 1-5. Well, I've watched, I think, parts of 4 different games and asked that same question to some people down in Springfield, and the most interesting thing I heard all week, he said right now this is a program that has a culture of mediocrity. That's what one individual kind of close to the program talked about. Whereas, and you know, it's part of the reason why they found ways to lose, what, a 3, a 4, and a 6-point game so far this year. You talk about the Bison, it's the opposite of that. They have a championship culture. They were down. Many of the things Jamal just talked about. Well, a championship team finds a way to win, and the Bison found a way to win last week, and the Bears found another way to lose down at the Dakota Dome last week.
Atmosphere was such a big thing here last week, Kevin. I know when you and I were here, it was about as crazy as it's ever been. I really think that helped NDSU gain the edge in the fourth quarter. You know, when we talk about the fourth quarter, they've outscored their opponents 48-0 so far in the fourth quarter this season. It almost feels like if you're not ahead of NDSU or tied, that you really don't have a chance to beat them late in the football game right now.
Yeah, you know what? It's been interesting how this season has played out. It seems like every time that there should be maybe a letdown or that there should be something that they maybe overlook, there's always some big event, whether it was college game day coming in, okay, whether it's, you know, Northern Iowa's coming in. It's a big game. Now it's homecoming. And certainly the Bison coaches have talked all the time about once Bison, always a Bison. There's a lot of alumni back in here. It's always just another reason to build this football game up. And they're, like I said, we're going to talk about Missouri State, but I really do think the focus has got to be on the Bison. Offensively, they got to come out and play a clean football game.
Well, Brian, when you talk about UNI and the way things happened against UNI last week, I think the biggest thing there for the Bison was the fact that they stayed close enough to allow the running game to be the factor in the fourth quarter, and it happened again. So that meant the defense giving up just 6 points on those 2 fumble kickoffs. That was the biggest part of the game, and the running game, I think, in the fourth quarter made the difference. And
NDSU dealt with some injuries last week. They're dealing with some new injuries this week. There are going to be some guys shuffling in and out of the starting lineup. We'll get to that later, but first we'll throw it back to Jamal Spencer.
Thanks a lot, guys. We will talk about those injuries a little bit later in the show. Well, as we've come to find out over the last few years, there's no party like a Bison tailgate party, come rain or shine. Mike Morgan's out there in the parking lot with this week's Proceed Tailgate Report. And Mike, how are things looking?
Thanks, Jamal. You know, we've seen some really sweet setups here at Tailgate City, and I mean, this has got to be one of them. I'm going to take you on a little bit of a tour. First of all, take a look at this. Whoever owns this has a satellite dish on top of their trailer here. Come on in, which allows them, of course, to have some nice television reception, and they've got Game Day on, which is out in Seattle this week. Of course, they were here earlier. Then you come in here, and you've got coolers set up. You got food set up here. You got some of your best friends here, and wow, look at this. It's awesome. Okay, excuse me. I got to find out who owns this. So who's responsible for all of this?
Brian Smith and Craig Dresser, and then just a bunch of us all got in on it together and had it now for a couple of years. So we all golf together, we all hang together, so it's just one more thing to do together.
What's your name?
Gene Scarberry.
Hey, this is a sweet setup.
Thanks. We have a lot of fun with it.
You have that proud ownership smile on your face. Cool.
Thanks.
Neither rain nor sleet nor dark of night seem to be bothered.
Nope, we're here all the time, rain or shine.
All right, well, thanks so much. It's a great setup. And, of course, what would a tailgating effort be without some food? Let's see what's on the grill here. What do you got cooking?
Got some steak kebabs.
Oh, my, look at this.
Oh, they're awesome. They're going to be good.
Take a look at this.
Come back for one.
How long have these been cooking?
5 or 6 minutes right now. Just flipping them over.
My, that's awesome. What's the name?
What's the name of what?
Your name.
My name's Ryan.
And rain, no problem for you out here, Ryan?
Not a problem. Okay. Rain or shine, we'll be here.
Okay, super. That's a pretty nice setup here. There's no problem there, and we'll take it back in. But, hey, just one of the fine setups here in the tailgate outside the parking lot of the Fargo Dome. Jamal?
Thanks a lot, Mike. That was the Proceed Tailgate Report, and that's what it's all about, adaptability. Great job by the fans out there in the parking lot. We're going to take a little bit of break here on the PetroServe USA Bison Football pregame show. When we come back, we'll take a look at the bond between Sam O'Jury and punter Ben LeCompte.
Your local United Way is dedicated to life-changing programs that improve our community. Funds help children, friends, and families right here in your hometown. Now you can support the United Way by going Santa Fe at Taco John's. This week, for every Santa Fe burrito or bowl purchased, Taco John's will donate $1 to your local United Way. Great taste, a great cause. Santa Fe for the United Way.
My town, my Taco John's.
Make that most important moment last a lifetime. For the brightest, whitest, cleanest diamonds in the FM area, make that moment last at a cutting edge 1700 32nd Avenue South, Fargo.
It's our 4 for 4.
It's Elijah's 4 for 4.
No, Mom, it's our 4 for 4.
At PetroServe USA, it's everyone's 4 for 4. Choose a pizza, 2 cookies, and a fountain drink for just $4 every day.
It's my 4 for 4.
Also, PetroServe USA is giving away $10,000. Register at any of our 21 locations for your chance to win. PetroServe USA, helping America fuel better.
Heating systems don't always quit working during regular business hours.
Sorry, our offices are closed till tomorrow.
At Precision, we can help. We have real people answering the phones and technicians ready to go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So if your heating system breaks down, even if it's 3 in the morning, we'll be ready.
Emergency service and repair, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Make the right decision. Call Precision.
The Seed World's newest hybrid combines the regional knowledge, of Seeds 2000 with the global research and genetics of new seed. But the newest hybrid isn't seed. It's a seed company. Talk to your new seed territory manager for details.
Welcome back to the PetroServe USA Bison Football pregame show here at the Fargo Dome. Well, way back in 2008, the Barrington High football team in Illinois, they finished 9-3. It's their best record in over a decade. And that team had a pair of Bison teammates who had no idea that their paths would cross once again. Ben LeCompte and Sam O'Jury. When you go away to school 600 miles from your family, it's easy to get homesick. But for running back Sam O'Jury and punter Ben LeCompte, that distance doesn't seem as far.
You know, seeing him always reminds me a little bit of home, and you know, I appreciate that because he's a couple lockers down, and he's always reminding me about stuff at home, and you know, Ben just makes me feel like I'm not that far away from home, and I'm pretty sure I do the same to him.
The two both played high school football at Barrington High in Illinois, outside of Chicago. And while Sam is a few years older than Ben, he definitely left an impact back then.
Sam was a beast, man. Yeah, you couldn't touch him. There was kids had these signs. They called him the Nigerian Nightmare. He was crazy.
O'Jury had more than 1,800 all-purpose yards as a senior at Barrington and signed to play at NDSU. And when it was time for the younger LeCompte to choose a school,
Sam gave me a text, a phone call, told me I would really like it up here, and so I got invited for an official visit. Sam was my host, and you know, I loved it. And to have someone from Barrington that was up here talk so well about it, it really, really improved like the quality of the school for me.
Having a guy like Sam here who can talk about, okay, these are the experiences I went through, and not just talk about it, but it's someone they trust, you know, that they've already gone to battle with on the football field, really, really helps.
The veteran senior and the rising sophomore are now roommates as well as best friends. Both more than happy with their decision to choose North Dakota State, a decision O'Jury thinks is quite the no-brainer.
We got 2 rings, and you know, we like to win here, so I don't see why anybody wouldn't want to come here.
O'Jury was an all-state running back at Barrington, and in January, his coach Joe Sanchez made the trip down to Frisco to watch both he and Ben LeCompte win their second national championship. Well, stay tuned to the PetroServe USA Bison Football pregame show. We'll have the injury report when we return.
The Craig Bull Football Show, Sunday mornings at 10:30 on KX4.
It's our 4 for 4.
It's Elijah's 4 for 4.
No, Mom, it's our 4 for 4.
At PetroServe USA, it's everyone's 4 for 4. Choose a pizza, 2 cookies, and a fountain drink for just $4 every day.
It's my 4 for 4.
Also, PetroServe USA is giving away $10,000. Register at any of our 21 locations for your chance to win. PetroServe USA, helping America fuel better.
Your local United Way is dedicated to life-changing programs that improve our community. Funds help children, friends, and families right here in your hometown. Now you can support the United Way by going Santa Fe at Taco John's. This week, for every Santa Fe burrito or bowl purchased, Taco John's will donate $1 to your local United Way. Great taste, a great cause. Santa Fe for the United Way.
My town, my Taco John's.
Most people think all big business takes place in big cities. But they're wrong, because even though the boardrooms may not be as plush, our small towns in rural communities are the home of the biggest business of all, feeding the world's 7 billion people. We take our responsibility seriously when it comes to the corn hybrids and soybean varieties that make our lineup. We're Peterson Farm Seed, and we're always breaking new ground.
Welcome back to the PetroServe USA Bison Football pregame show here at the Fargo Dome. Fans getting ready on this homecoming weekend for hopefully a great game between the Bison and the Missouri State Bears. This game has a lot to live up to. Last week's game was a great one against Northern Iowa, but it was a physical one, and it took its toll on this Bison team. Let's take a look at this week's Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine injury report, tell you who's banged up. Guard Tyler Gimmelstead is doubtful for this one. He has that knee injury. He was able to fight through the pain and play last week. He is doubtful to play this week. Backup offensive lineman Jack Plankers from Kindred High School. Well, he has an MCL injury and he is out for this one. And starting defensive end Cole Jurek has 2 sore shoulders. He's doubtful for today's game. We have some updates to this injury report. Linebacker Carlton Littlejohn is likely out. He has an MCL as well. And backup defensive end Jeremy Gordon looks to be out for the year with a torn ACL. So a brutal loss at defensive end for the Bison today. With more on some of those MCL injuries, Brian Shawn talked to team doctor Bruce Pyatt earlier today.
Thank you very much, Jamal. I'm joined by Dr. Bruce Pyatt from Sanford Health and Orthopedic Sports Medicine, also team physician for NDSU, spending a lot of time with these guys. And of course, we mentioned last week we're at the midway point of the season, and one injury that we've seen pop up a little bit are meniscus problems. Can you talk about what causes a meniscus problem and a tear and how you treat that?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's 2 kinds of cartilage in the knee, and the meniscus cartilage, there's a couple little C-shaped discs that sit between the bones, and its job is to kind of give a wider surface area to give a little more stability to the joint and also take some of the stress off the other cartilage, the articular cartilage. So typically it's some kind of a shearing force that occurs where the athlete is planted, has their weight on that leg and twist in some way that causes kind of a hoop stress to occur that causes the injury for them. It can be a real problem because without it, they not only develop pain, they develop some problems with some of the stability in the joint, and long term it's a big issue for the joint with regards to arthritic changes later on.
So in terms of recovery for an injury like this, I know it varies, but you talked about the long-term effects. What are the short-term effects in terms of getting back out on the field?
Yeah, the short-term part of it is that the easiest thing to recover from is some of these that we go in and we scope and just clean up a tear. But that's not the best thing for the long term. So it's always better if we can repair it. So the athletes that come back quickly within a couple of weeks, we've had to clean it up because it's not repairable. If it's repairable, then you're looking at a 4 to 6 month recovery, and that's the better thing for the long run, but the much tougher thing to recover from.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Pyatt, and we'll hope for no more meniscus problems this year.
I'm good with that again.
Jamal, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Brian. That was the Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine injury report, and like you said, hopefully the Bison get through this one unscathed, but you never know in the physical Missouri Valley Conference. Well, we'll be back with much more on the PetroServe USA Bison Football pregame show after this short break. Better.
Yeah!
Your local United Way is dedicated to life-changing programs that improve our community. Funds help children, friends, and families right here in your hometown. Now you can support the United Way by going Santa Fe at Taco John's. This week, for every Santa Fe burrito or bowl purchased, Taco John's will donate $1 to your local United Way. Great taste, a great cause. Santa Fe for the United Way.
My town, my Taco John's.
Exceeding expectations. Getting better every day. It doesn't happen by chance. Preparation pays off. So the only question to ask yourself is, am I better today than I was yesterday? Exceed yesterday. Choose Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome to Big Bank.
Hi, I'm wondering what this fee is on my...
That's nothing.
No, if it's costing me money, it's something.
It's just a fee.
For what?
For your checking account.
But I have free checking. How can you charge me a fee?
It's a hidden fee, so you'll just think you have free checking.
Excuse me, Mr. Budinsky. Wait your turn.
Fed up with fees? Switch to Bell State Bank and Trust for America's best free checking with all the frees and no surprise fees. Member FDIC.
Do you remember back to the days when business was conducted at the coffee shop? The details were written on a napkin and the deal was concluded by a handshake. If you were the supplier, you probably filled out the check and the amount, and if the guy really trusted you, you filled in the check register. The check might even have been a counter check. Now you can do it on our iPad or phone or get confirmation that the transaction was concluded by clicking the right button on your email program. Memories. Need seed. Think proceed.
Kate's favorite food, burrito bowls from a Mexican grill. Her new favorite food? Taco John's new Santa Fe Bowl. Built fresh for you with cilantro lime rice, seasoned black beans, and your choice of salsa. Plus char-grilled chili lime chicken or shredded beef, all in the drive-thru. Try Taco John's again for the first time. New Santa Fe Burritos and Bowls.
Santa Fe, the TJ way. My town, my Taco John's.
Welcome back to the PetroServe USA Bison Football pregame show. Time now to give away some gift cards from PetroServe. This week's winner, Chris H. from Valley City, North Dakota, and Phil R. from Fargo, North Dakota. You've each won a $500 gift card to a PetroServe USA location near you. And make sure you guys register at your local PetroServe USA. We'll be giving away gift cards for the rest of the season. We've got a couple of key players to watch in this matchup between the Bison of North Dakota State and the Missouri State Bears. Let's take a look at the Bobcat heavy lifting report, players to watch. And we start with with North Dakota State. Cornerback Marcus Williams is looking for a little redemption. He was targeted by UNI last week and did not have his best game. He's looking to bounce back, and he'll try to do that with a return spark. Part of his quest for redemption is bouncing back from a fumble on his first kickoff return of the game last week. He'll try to get the return game going, get the Bison some favorable field position today. And he wants to add to the list. Williams has 20 career interceptions. One more will tie him for second on the all-time Missouri Valley list. I think he gets that today, as that will move him up in a tie for second place. For Missouri State, the Bears, it starts in their secondary as well. Safety Caleb Schafitzel. This guy is simply a playmaker. 52 tackles, leads the team this year, and as Brian Shawn says, that guy's just a dude. He makes all sorts of plays. Look for him to be flying around on the field today. He has a history against NDSU last year, picked off Bison quarterback Brock Jensen twice, including returning one of those 100 yards for a score. He took it back to the house, gave his team some momentum, and he's a physical safety, can certainly line up and stuff the run, play at the line of scrimmage as well. So he's definitely a player to watch for Missouri State. That was the Bobcat heavy lifting report. And right now we're going to go back up top to our guys. We'll talk a little bit more about the X's and O's in this game.
All right, thank you very much, Jamal, Brian, Shawn, Kevin Feeney, and Lee Timmerman here joining you. And we get set to call this one at just after, about 7 after the hour, 1 o'clock here for this homecoming matchup between Missouri State and North Dakota State. And LT, looking at Missouri State, we've seen defensively what they can do. Offensively, they've been very sporadic, very inconsistent. They put together about 2 good drives a game, but they've had critical turnovers at critical times, and that's cost them a lot of football games.
Well, turnovers and penalties. And one of the things, they're spread and trying to go fast. Well, when you don't pick up those first downs, Kevin knows this, you take a very good defense and you really put so much more pressure on the defense. We do know that Harris is going to play. He's going to start. He had some issues maybe with a concussion. He took a hit last week against USD, and Harris is a dynamic guy that the Bison are really worried about with his feet, more so than his arm. If you give him time, he can really bomb it downfield, but so far he hasn't had a lot of time.
Kevin, on North Dakota State, we were here last week, and they had some shuffles on the offensive front, and we're not as clean here the last couple of weeks, I think, with some of the penalties and missed assignments. I know Brent Vigen had talked about he's a little disappointed with that, but he still feels like their best football is very much ahead of them here.
You know what? Throughout a season, your offensive line is got to gel, and I think it's been hard the last few weeks with the amount of shuffling that they've had, and you've seen those little penalties, and, you know, like I heard Coach Vigen say, that's a reason they're backups. I mean, let's be honest here. They're not as talented as the guys that are in front of them. So certainly Bison need to get guys like Gimstad healthy. They're going to plan on keeping him out today, but he's a guy that down the stretch has to be healthy if they're going to make that playoff run.
And with Gimstad out, Josh Colville will switch from center to guard, and Jesse Hines will start at center today. So that'll be the only real change we see on the offensive side of the football. But guys, talking to you both about this, we've seen how the running game can grind teams down. And Craig Bull said we like grinding teams down in the fourth quarter. We saw that again. The running backs continue to progress. Each have exactly 64 carries this season. They've both been very productive. And the receivers, to me, seem to be getting better every week. And the depth there we've seen really grow throughout this whole entire season.
Well, and I don't think it's a surprise that the depth has grown, because if you think about it, where it was like 2 or 3 years ago, especially 3 years ago in the wide receiver thing, that was where the Bison targeted and went, oh, we don't have enough options here or enough weapons here. Recruiting has gotten some of that depth, and now you're able to see some of the fruits of that. But yeah, there is no worries with rolling a bunch of wide receivers in there, and you can just pick a back. They've both done very, very well.
And Kerry Wood's a guy, Kevin, we saw really step up, and Brent Vegan feels like he's on the cusp of really emerging as another go-to guy.
You know, I still kind of think that the one piece that the Bison wide receiver corps is missing is that downfield guy. And Kerry, unfortunately, had a lot of experience early on in his career on seeing how explosive he can be. And I think Brock Jensen's only going to gain more confidence in him. And I think the Bison coaching staff are going to try and do some things today, maybe with some double moves to try and get him down the field.
The Bison defense has been spectacular. We've seen that. They're only giving up about 10 points a game. They're solid, but they're missing a couple of guys today. Carlton Littlejohn probably not going to play. We've heard Jerry McGordon maybe out for the year with an ACL. How does that change things here moving forward?
Well, I think it changes a lot. I thought last year for the run all the way through especially through the playoffs and into the national championship, the biggest thing that happened in the Bison favor is that one of those 3 linebackers didn't get hurt. Well, now you're going to see what happens. Esley Thornton, who is a backup at a couple of different positions, he goes into a starter role. And so, depth is a little bit of issue there, and also at defensive end if those guys can't play.
We'll see how that works. Cole Jerick is kind of iffy today as well. We'll have the kickoff coming up after this, but first we'll throw it back to Jamal Spencer to wrap things up.
Thanks a lot, guys. It'll be the 1-5 Bears of Missouri State against the undefeated Bison of North Dakota State, the #1 team in the country, looking to expand that lead in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Stay tuned. We got the kickoff coming up next. Should be a great one.